You're such an asshole.
America. Hey Aaron, I'm expanding on a video you just did about the left winning the Civil War. I'd like you to do a video on demographic change in America. When will the tipping point occur when a Republican can no longer win the presidency? In the 2018 midterm elections, states like Texas and Georgia were very close, and states like New York, Illinois, and California are permanently lost to the Republicans. One can only assume we are getting closer and closer to the breaking point of states like Texas, Georgia, Arizona are trending away from the GOP. Can Trump defy demographic change and eke out another win in 2020? In your view, is there anything that can happen that can shake up the voting coalition so that the conservative candidates can have a chance to win under future demographic change? Yes, the Republicans will have to grow some peni and find themselves some balls, which I'll detail a little bit later. But that's essentially what it is for Republicans to stop being apologetic and explain to people, no matter whether they're domestic brainwashed children from the prissy lily white suburbs of America who believe socialism is great, even though their dad's capitalism is affording them their Apple phones and their convertible cabriolets, or the immigrants who come here and think there's actual magic dirt and Whitey just happens to be occupying it and thinking, well, if we just vote to take Whitey's shit, that somehow is going to lead in something that is in Venezuela. There's a way where you sell them on no independence, freedom, low taxes, and we're out of your life forever. A very libertarian approach. The only two things I could think of is a massive depression occurring under a Democrat administration or a huge world war. What do you say? Neither of those. I will tell you how I think it can happen, but let's go through your first couple of questions. When will the tipping point occur when a Republican can no longer win the presidency? That'll happen when Texas goes blue. Blue is Democrat. Yes, blue is Democrat. Once Texas goes, there's not enough electoral votes to have a Republican president, and we will have a revisitation. Well, we don't have a revisitation. We'll have the first instance where, very much like Mexico had the PRI for 79 years, and the Soviets had, well, the Soviet government, communism, for 72 years. You'll have one-party rule because most people in the country will be too damn stupid, like Mexico and the Russians were for 7 decades, to think, well, this time they promised us it'll be good. I mean, I've talked about, I think, was it a podcast? Talked about how if you consider the Great Society has been in existence now for 60 plus years, you now have an entire generation of black people who were born and raised under the Great Society and have still lived in effectively last place relative to the other racial groups within the United States. And they'll still vote for it, man. You know, like those old ladies after communism fell in Russia, there's still a communist party. The old timers, where I remember Stalin. You know, people are just morons. They're too high a percentage of the sheep will be, there won't be enough independent, truly thinking Americans. There won't. So that will happen when Texas goes blue, and you will not see a Republican presidency unless there's some things I recommend that would change. There's a breaking point with Texas trending away for the Jew. Can Trump defy demographic change and eke out another win in 2020? He can, and I think he's doing more or less what needs to be done in having a ball sack and telling the press to fuck off and actually defending the country, actually standing for something. You may not like Trump, but well, you've also probably been lied to about what Trump said by media as well. And even I'm not a big fan, but there is no ambiguity that he is pro-American. And you go, it's not the new America. Okay, then it's the new America, which will just be another socialist Brazilian shithole. But you know what he stands for. He is not your standard pussy Republican. He is not your John McCain. He is not your Mitt Romney. He's not even your George Bush. He is definitely more of a Teddy Rooseveltian type of president. He's a bull in a china shop. And if for entertainment value alone, although I would say it's, well, he's speaking his mind. I mean, when he speaks his mind, I think, you know, he's not hiding anything. He's not being a polished individual. At least you could say he's honest, as much as you might disagree with him. And I think that's one of the things that Trump can do to defy demographic change. I think also him being forthright and blunt will win over more minority voters than we're not racist, we're not racist, we're not racist, we're not sexist, we're not racist, which is the typical pussy Republican way to do things. The cuck conservatives like to do that. I mean, you could give them a knife, they'll slash the wrist open and bleed out, just so you don't call them a racist. The correct answer is, I'm not a racist, you know I'm not a racist, go suck my dick. And that would be the correct answer. But very few Republicans have that ability to do it. So he could win in 2020. I think he has won over, didn't he do better than Bush with minorities? Done better with minorities than most Republicans have in the past, despite CNN's best effort. In your view, is there anything that can happen that can shake up the voting coalition so that conservative candidates can have a chance to win under future demographic change? The only two things I could think of is a massive depression occurring under a Democratic administration. That I disagree with. It might happen, I doubt, or a huge world war. No, that won't happen. Here's how the conservatives, I'm not going to say Republicans because the Republicans are just, I've met pubes with more balls on them than Republicans. Here, if the conservatives and the Republicans wanted to win future elections in a more diverse America, assuming immigration demographics and I would say the number one thing they could do is what the Democrats have done, except this time it would be honest and true, and that is get men to vote for them. Now, men already skew a little bit to the Republican side of things, the conservative side of things, but specifically minority men, because what's the number one thing in men's lives? Women. Who is the biggest competitor against minority men for their women? It ain't white folk, boys and girls, it's the government. That is the most direct and also the most truthful, honest, and helpful thing you can point out to not only help out minority men, but also minority women and minority families, where you say, look, the government has stolen your women. They have stolen pretty much the primary reason men had to live, which is get married, have women and family and children. They've stolen that from you. They've made it so that you are not competing, Bob the black mechanic with his rusty, trusty 2008 Chevy Tahoe would normally have been able to get Amy, the black female who is a public school teacher or whatever. He would have been able to gotten her 60s and 70s and 50s. He can't do that now because the government has offered Amy so much in terms of free stuff that why would she hang out with Bob, the average American Joe? A very just not inferior or anything like that, mechanic. No, the average guy of all races, but we're talking about demographic change. I'm talking about targeting minorities. Men of all races are competing against the government for the love and affection of their women, and also any future children and family formation. And when you point that out to men, and you can get them to understand it, they will wake up. I do not think you can get minority women, or even white women for that matter, because it's painfully clear, especially this past decade, where women, if you give them a government check or a good quality husband, he's a 7, he's a 6 on a day of work, and he makes his $60,000 a year. You say, here's your average American man, or a lifetime of government support and checks and master's degrees and make work government jobs, they will always go with the government check. Not always, but the traditional women no longer exist. They simply do not exist. So women of all races, but disproportionately minority races, are going for the government. They're marrying the government. And if you simply point that out to all men, but I would say minority men, because again, the demographic change, not only are you speaking the truth and directly speaking to what makes people happy and families and other human beings and the love of other people and the people that are very important in your life, and focusing on the individual and not institutions like academia, college, my career, the corporate America, government jobs, nonprofit. Instead, hey, Maybe you ought to stay the fuck home and raise your own goddamn kids instead of outsourcing it to daycare. Maybe a hug from your husband is more important than a master's degree, and a kiss on your cheek on Mother's Day from your little 3-year-old Bobby is more important than you getting assistant diversity vice reserve break glass in case of emergency diversity co-director. But, and keep in mind, you cannot target women. They're gone. They're gone. They're gone. You gotta focus on men. Which, by the way, I don't know if you notice it, there's been no focus on men for quite some time. And if you go after men of all stripes, and you point out the government is the biggest direct competitor, stealing their women away from them, and thus their livelihood and happiness and chance of future, you're not gonna get all of them, of course, but you're gonna get them to wake up and realize, oh well, why? Because men like women. We like them more than anything else. Matter of fact, the entire fucking world civilizations were built because we wanted girls. That's it. And so I think that is a very important truism, if you point it out too. But you know, then you will get at least men. It won't be a Black, Hispanic, Asian racial issue. It'll be men versus women. And then I think you could also start winning some of the conservative traditional women, or women who, the stage 2 of this would then be, is then you start going after and criminalizing and villainizing feminism for just, not just what the evil it is, but how it's not real. It's not based in reality. And just what a sad, miserable existence that is. Like, look, do you girls want a husband? Well, okay, you better go start acting like you're a wife then. So I'm, in other words, playing to human biology and nature, and not necessarily sex, but the desire for love and sex, romance, but more families and, you know, biology, biological urges. If the Republicans did that, you would, I think you could, because then you're looking, it doesn't matter what the racial demographics or components of any country is. This could be applied anywhere. The Latin American country. How many Venezuelan women do you think voted in for Hugo Chavez because he just promised them shit? Look at it now. They're getting raped. They have to prostitute themselves, not in Venezuela because they can't afford it. They got to go to Colombia to prostitute themselves. Oh, what else? Sweden? No one's happy in Sweden. I don't care what their happiness studies show. It would work on Swedes. It would work on... you saw this in Brazil, where the Brazilians voted in whoever that new guy is, the conservative, or at least the traditionalist. Where it's like, we're sick and tired of what was it? There was that British guy that walked in there because he was a gay actor, and he was just going to show everyone what a foolish guy this guy was. And he's like, no, we don't hate gays here. We're just sick and tired of having being shoved down our throats. So you can see where a non-Western civilization does actually vote in traditional conservative values, because ultimately, and I'm not talking religious, because ultimately they're derived from reality, and reality was that men like women, women like men, and out came kids. So I would say going to that and making it very clear to men that the government is your competition. The government has stolen your women from you. The government has made, I mean, and then we could even point out, forget stealing with money. They've done that. But then the at best, competitive indoctrination women have gotten against men, to an outright, they're your enemy and you should hate men indoctrination women have gotten in the schools from the government. It's not only easy, but it's easy because it's true. You just got to point that out. Say, okay, what do you want, guys? Do you want girls? Well, you know, sit and think long and hard about it. Oh yeah, I know the Democrats promised you free stuff and goodies, but look where that got you. Look, that's not, you've had that, you can point that out to the black community. You've had that for like 60 odd years. Now, where's that gotten you? I'm like, oh, do you want to try plan B? But I would not, that's what conservative candidates, I'd say more libertarian candidates, because you're going to want to get rid of the religious right. I think another third thing you could do is you could kick out the religious right and say, you know, you're not here to tell anyone what the religion is or the morality is. But yeah, okay, fine, pot, yeah, drugs, whatever. Okay, yeah, gay marriage, we don't care. We don't care. It's not our business. We're the government, not your parents. That'd be a third thing you can do. But I think in the meantime, if you want to secure a future of freedom for any country of any racial demographic and makeup, you point out that the government, for the most part, has stolen women from men. You point that out to the men. And then men, because frankly, the engines of economic growth living off the fuel of sex and love and female attention, they'll wake up quick. Once you make that connection, hey, they're taking away your women. That's the best chance I think you're going to see of saving some kind of future for freedom, regardless, anywhere in the planet, where there's a democracy anyway. The only two things, massive debate. Yeah, you're hoping for external factors to come in and save you. I'm not. The only thing I'm thinking about is being truthful and honest and forthright and showing tough fatherly love with our fellow Latino and Black and Asian and whoever else brothers. And that's happening now in the Red Pill community, in the Manosphere, because you want to see true diversity and true rainbow coalition. You go look at the Red Pill groups. You go look at. They're not really necessarily red pill, but world-class bullshitters. It's diversity. It's Asians and blacks and whites and Latinos. Red man group. There are no racial barriers there. And what unites us? Women. Oh my God. All right, that's it. Questions, answers, AsselConsulting.com. Check out all the links below. I got amazing books. Do all your shopping through an Amazon affiliate link down there, because if I don't make the monies, then I go away, and brilliant, awesome videos like this can no longer be made. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.